Hi guys, and welcome back. Since today is the day that the law is changing, I thought I would make a video on this subject and talk to you guys about how this $20 an hour is going to affect contractors. It's going to affect everyone. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the other side of this thing. And let's talk about what happens to a lot of people who are working for minimum wage, who are stuck in a dead job, and they need more money because you can't live on minimum wage, right? That's the argument. That's the other side of it. And this is what everybody thinks, we're helping out those people, which it doesn't really do that, but we'll talk about that later. But let's talk about how the government made this decision that they're going to help these people. They make decisions without thinking. When you're talking about democratic government, you're talking about a government who does not think about what they're going to do, what both sides of the effects of it are going to be. They just go, hey, there's all these people, these companies are taking advantage of them, and we got to help them. Well, that's what they say, but they're not really doing that. We know better. Because if they were doing it, they would do it this way. You've been at your company 3 years. The company's not giving you a pay raise. They're giving you minimum wage. So why don't they just have a situation like this? If you've been working there 3 years and you're working for minimum wage, then now the company's required to give you a raise from minimum wage to $20 an hour after 3 years. If you're worth a crap, if you're able to prove to your boss that you're worth anything, then they would raise you to $20 an hour, okay? And the reason they're not raising you is because probably you're not worth it. I mean, that's just the way it is. Or the job you're in doesn't have profit that pays for $20 an hour. Instead, the government goes in and says, we're going to make you pay. And what this does is, look, it makes the company have to raise their prices. When they do that, who wins? Who loses? The government wins, because now those people that were making $15 an hour or whatever, the minimum wage was, I don't know, I guess it's 16 today, they're making 20. So who wins? The government guarantees themselves a percentage of the higher dollar. That's just the way it works. They increase the payroll for the state, and guess what? They get paid more money. But what they're not thinking about is the fact that a lot of companies just leave the state. They leave. They just go, we can't do it. This is what's happening in contracting business. The guys are just leaving. They're just done. They just don't want anything to do with it anymore. So listen, if they really wanted to do the right thing, which obviously they don't, because I think they would have half a brain in their heads to know what I'm just saying, is that after a person's been working there 3 years, then make them get the raise. Instead, a brand new guy who knows absolutely nothing walks into a fast food restaurant, doesn't even know how to wash his hands properly, barely got his food making license, and he gets entitled to $20 an hour. You're not teaching anybody how to work by doing that, okay? When I was 18 years old, I worked fast food, and I made $3.35. And let me tell you, you could not live on $3.35 then. You couldn't, just like you couldn't live on $16 an hour now, because obviously they raised the price of everything. As soon as they raised the minimum wage, everything went up in price. So when they did that, it just did a disservice to everybody. The middle class all had to pay more for every little item that they had to buy, because now everything went up in price because, they were making those companies pay. This whole idea of penalizing companies it just doesn't work. You go, okay, I'm going to penalize this company and make them pay more wages. What do? Increase their prices. It's that simple. Everybody ends up paying for it. You're not singling out that company and making them pay. You're making everyone else pay. It just doesn't work. Look, there's a better way to do things. Why not do this? Make businesses more profitable, okay? Make it easier for them to make money. And if they make more money, then there's more competition for those employees, and they have to pay them more to get them. So the talented people who are working harder, who are doing more, get paid more. But guess what? That is not a Democratic idea. That's Republican. What can I tell you? The state of California, they just don't get it. They don't understand. These are simple things. You know, I don't want to change. I don't want to make it so that women don't have any rights. I don't think a lot of us don't want that. I think, but, you know, here we got this other side to the whole story where they're trying to just go too far to the left and give entitlements out, and nobody gets anything. Companies leave. Painting contractors, most of them left. Made all my insurance go up. I've heard of this happening all over the place. Guys are going out, general contractors. My bond rates went through the roof. Okay, and it's because we have a license bond in California. So if, as a painting contractor, it's $25,000, which I think is really ridiculous. They were talking about guys who paint houses have to have a contractor's license here. To do anything over $600, you know, it's just way ridiculous. They should raise that. And you have to have a license bond. And what the license bond covers, and let's say you go out and you collect money. Let's say I went out and started a guy's house. I collect, you know, $6,000 out of him, which you're never going to get from a house, you know, painting. Yeah, I need $6,000 deposit after 2 days work. No, they're just going to look at you and go, no. Okay, so anyway, you get a bunch of deposits from people, and then you get on an airplane, you leave the country. All right, and you just leave everybody high and dry. Well, the bond is supposed to pay that back. Okay, for general contractors, I can see having a larger bond makes sense because you could bilk, you know, 5 or 6 of your trades, take their money, and leave the country. It's been happening all over the place where they don't have bonding requirements. You know, it's I've been looking at some YouTube videos where that's happened. I'm not sure what states they were in, but I think it was Indiana, but don't quote me on that. General contractor takes a bunch of money, like a trade gets done, he gets them to sign off for their lien release, and then he goes to the bank, gets the money for a whole bunch of different things that are happening all at the same time. Maybe he ends up with $100,000 in his pocket and goes to Costa Rica or whatever and lives there. So I'm just saying that's been happening, obviously, because bond rates are going way up. The amount we have to pay, obviously there's people defaulting on their bonds. That's how it happens. Okay, I'm not, you know, saying anything about particular people. You know, if I wanted to, I could pick up and move to Costa Rica. It doesn't matter. I've got friends who live there who've done the same thing, left the state and went to Costa Rica and live, and they're American people that speak English, the whole 9 yards. You can do it if you want. So obviously, when their bond rates go up, that's obviously happening. They have defaults going on, and they're doing a lot more credit searches. I had to show that I had super good credit to get my bond, and I was able to get 3 years rate, which was still really expensive. It was about 25-30% up. Most of the other bonding companies wanted 100% more. They wanted double the price, and it was just like, oh my goodness, you know, there's only but I had to go out of state to get a bond to find somebody who could do it for less. So whether or not it's actually happening or it's fear of that happening, I don't know. But, you know, it certainly is disheartening when you're a contractor and you're trying to make a living, you know. Pretty much I'm at the point where it'd be really hard to knock the heels out of me to make me have to leave. But there's a lot of people who just don't have a choice. They actually don't have any other options. They don't have, you know, a large sum of capital. They don't have a house that's paid off. They have to make a mortgage payment, and doing all that and living here, you're in deep doo-doo if you're a contractor. It's not easy to make it here. You get tired of going out in those estimates and you give them a price and they go, how much? And you go, whatever, $10, $12, $14,000 to paint a house. And people just like, they don't have the money. It's not like it was in the 80s, 90s, 2000s. We've had these price increases and people don't understand. They go, oh, well, there's always price increases. I mean, that's what I hear all the time. Oh, there's always inflation. You're just complaining. It's like, okay, well, it's between 1990 and the 2000, I think we had about a 15-20% increase in prices during that time, 10-year period. Between 2000, 2010, I don't even know if it went up that much. It might have went up 15%, 20%, maybe 25. Let's just say 25. It wasn't even close to that, but it didn't go up that much at all because paint and materials didn't go up that much. Labor didn't go up that much. So the cost of living didn't go up that much. Between 2010 and 2020, it's gone up 120%. That's not a problem. Yeah, that's what's happening. So, I think we're going to see over the next year a lot of houses with deferred maintenance, peeling, not looking so great, and people with broken stuff or going on the internet. So this year, I'm going to do a lot more DIY homeowner videos on how to buy a cheap ass sprayer and paint your house yourself, because I think that's really where the market's going to be. And unfortunately, let me tell you, painting is not as easy as people think. They think, oh, you just tape off the windows. I watched the guy, you tape off the windows, you turn off your sprayer, you just and it's all done, I watched the guy painting a house once, and he looked like he was chasing bees. He had the spray gun. He just going everywhere. Hit the pressure up way super high, and all the ground around where he was painting, it was painting blue. Everything was blue. We're going to see a lot of this interesting stuff over the next couple years, because when you got prices up like this, what are you going to get? It's already happening in the contracting business. I went out on I went on a job, and I went out there. They called me up they said, hey, give me a PO to go do something. I went out there, and there's a guy already doing it. So what happened is, the company that I work for is a national sign company. They hired me to go out do the job, and they didn't know that the building owner decided to go ahead and hire their own painter, and they were there. So I went out and looked at the job. I just was out there, and I took pictures for them, and of course, they pay me to do that, so it's kind of nice. So I look at the building, and there's a guy there painting, and I walked over to the guy, hey, how's it going? He's kind of rude, whatever, but he was okay at first. And then I was just nice, and I'm not all rude. I took away my job or any of that crap. I don't care. I'll get something else. So I go over and talk to him. Hey, yeah, so you're going to paint the conduit too, right? And he goes, no. I'm like, oh, they need the conduit painted. If you don't do it, it's all right. They'll just call me to come back and do it, and I'll do it. But it would be nice to know if you're not going to do it. I'll let them know. And he goes, oh, no, my contact, my contact says this, blah, blah, blah. My contact, I'm like, okay, look, this is a national hotel chain. I'm not going to say the name, but the people who own the hotel chain ID name, they're the ones who dictate to the owners of the hotels what they're going to put on that building when it comes to signs. If they have to pay for their signs, if there's holes in the wall that don't look right, they're going to have to do it, period. So that's the way it works. All right. So I tell the guy, well, hey, if you don't want to do it, it's all right. I'll just let me know. Well, I might contact this and that. So I call my project manager and I said, hey, this other guy's there working. He's supposed to be, doing the wall repair for the owner of the building. He goes, oh, great, cool. We don't have to pay for it. The other guy's paying. So I'm like, yeah. So he goes, so he calls the guy's contact, because he knows who he is. Obviously, all this stuff goes through the same channels. Okay, my contact says this. Who cares? The head top people say conduit's getting painted. Either you're doing it or you're not, or I'm doing it. I don't care. So I look at the building, the normal job. I figured about 4 hours work for me. Okay. So I look at it and I go, I'd be done in about an hour after I got there. The guy was just getting into the paint. He'd done all the patching. He's getting the paint. He's, oh, there's silicone all over the walls. And I go, yeah, I deal with that all the time. No problem. Yep, there's silicone on the walls. You know, no biggie. So we fixed, he's out there fixing everything, and he's making all excuses of why it's taking so long. All right. And so, he gives me his number. Oh, man, maybe you need help. And I'm like, maybe not, probably not. But anyway, I'll take your card. On the way home, he calls me. He says, oh, I said, well, are you gonna paint the conduit now, or what's going on? No, that's not my contact says, whatever. I'm like, okay, dude, whatever. You gonna finish the job today or not? He's like, yeah, I'll be done. Well, I go there the next day. They're still working on it. I'd have been there 4 hours. This is an 85-foot boom. The rental alone, whoever paid this guy paid twice as much money as it costs. So, because he had to pay for 2 days rental, I would have been done in 4 hours. No doubt. I've done hundreds of them. No doubt it would have taken me no longer than 4 hours max to do the whole job. Done. Out of there. Okay. This guy takes 2 full days. 2 full days. The lift rental, almost $2,000 a day. This is the type of stuff that's going to be left doing our trade. Is what I'm trying to say is, by the way, guys, guess what got painted? Anybody surprised? Yep, the conduit was all painted the next day. It's just a nuts. It's just crazy. I don't even, we take 4 hours, they take 2 days. That makes all the sense in the world. Tell me what you think on that. Anyway, talk to you guys in the next one. Please like, share, and subscribe.